Brandon Gavin, sorry.
Yeah, the four of us actually have always praised your unique abilities and talents through the 80s and the early 90s. And I was just wondering if you ever thought that you were held back or underappreciated during your career.
Let me put it this way: when I look back at reports now, or I hear or see some of these writings of these internet, what we call them as smarks. They think they know everything, but they don't. And they say that he was terrible in the ring, he was horrible, he had no technical abilities. Well, obviously they didn't look at my career like 14 years before I ever came to the WWE. I had a whole career prior to that obviously some of these smarks haven't researched and looked at and said, this guy was part of the Tupelo concession stand match that really created hardcore wrestling. It created a thing called Extreme Championship Wrestling, ECW. So I take all that with a grain of salt, and I don't dwell on it or worry about it that much. But it would be nice if someone say, the guy might not have been the greatest technical wrestler. No, I'm not a technical wrestler. Of course I'm not. I never learned technical stuff. I'm an entertainer. I do theatrical athletics is what I do. And if I was voted on by the fans as the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time, then obviously the fans voted somehow, and that's all that matters to me is that I was appreciated at one point in time. And if I'm I get a bad rep now because, hey, these older guys, these Valentine and the Beefcakes and the Duggins and the Honky Tonk Men and the Snookers, they don't want to go out there and do all this stuff that these young kids do. Well, I think we've earned the rite of passage not to be thrown around like a sack of potatoes on any given night by some young kid that we do not even know anything about. And so, hey, if I get a bad rep about it, I get a bad rep.
Sure. Mike K., you got a question?
Yeah, speaking of some of the guys that you've gotten a chance to tangle with, you've certainly had a number of greats that you've been in the ring with. Who was your favorite? Who did you enjoy squaring up with every night?
There's so many, and I don't want to offend anybody by leaving someone out. But let me get back to I didn't fully answer the question because you had asked me that I felt like I was held back at any point. When I first went to the WWE those years back and came out of Stampede Wrestling for Wrestling with the Harts and Stu Hart and Brett and then Jim Neihart and all those guys. When I first interviewed with Vince McMahon, it was he was envisioned me doing all these grand things as a good guy and all these little jumpsuits kids would be wearing, and he would market the black wigs and the sideburns and the glasses and everything. And I told him that the character was not developed as a good guy character. I created it as a bad guy, and I wasn't sure it would work. And no, we can make it work. But in the meantime, getting to that interview, he had mentioned, I can see you and Hogan teaming together, and then I can see, down the line, if we want to switch this and make it a bad character, then you going against Hogan. And so I'm thinking, gosh, I'm going to get to have all these matches with Hogan, which obviously you said, who do I like wrestling the most and who do I enjoy? Well, that's one answer, Hulk Hogan, because believe me, brother, when you get that leg dropped on you and you're making $10,000 to take that leg drop every day for 9 shows a week, that's $90,000. Hey, I'll take that. Believe me, I love that leg drop. but yes, when you say held back on the other question, I don't feel like I was held back because I had the opportunity to be the Intercontinental Champion and go in another direction. But by being the Intercontinental Champion, I never had those matches with Hogan, and I think I only had I had one tag match and 3 single matches with him the whole time I was there. So I only got the leg dropped on me 4 times, and it was worth $40,000.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. Mike, how are you?
One thing that's not really talked about a lot with regards to your career, because you had so much success in the WWF, is your brief time spent in WCW in 1994. You left before too long, and Eric Bischoff in his book even went on to say, he said that you were his favorite firing. So I was wondering what happened in WCW that kind of prevented you from having a longer tenure.
I feel flattered about that I was made it into his book of all the people he had fired and all the people who had quit and all the people who want to beat the this is on Blog Talk. I can say beat the hell out of him. Anyway, look, I tell people I was not in WCW long enough to learn the words to the song they had for me. So, but here's the thing about it. I went there on thinking that there's going to be a contract for me because I knew those guys were doing good. They weren't making that big, serious money, but the smallest contract they had there at that point in time was like, I don't know, $100,000, $130,000, $150,000, and here's Johnny B. Bad making $300,000, $350,000, and Brian Pillman $300,000, $400,000, and all these people around that $300,000, $350,000 mark. I thought, well, this would be nice to go there and do this, and make. And then when I interviewed with Bischoff the very first day, he said, I never was a fan of your gimmick. I didn't really like it, but Jimmy Hart has been bothering me so much, he won't leave me alone. The only way I could get him to leave me alone was to bring you in. Well, if the guy that's signing your check and the guy that's going to give you a contract tells you he's not a fan of yours, he's not a fan of your gimmick, then your time is not going to be very valuable to him. And I stayed there for like 3 months, and he did say, after I was there for the first 2 or 3 weeks and he saw what I could do and the fan reaction, then he says, as soon as I free up some money, I'm going to get you a good contract. When free up money, well, Steve Regal had planted a seed with the guy in Miami with a newspaper and said he might be leaving when his contract was up, which was like 3 or 4 weeks later. Well, they just renewed Steve's contract, and gave him a bonus raise, and then I'm sitting there saying, he said, well, we have bad contracts, so I want to get rid of some of these, and when I do, I'm going to free up some money and get you a good. Well, it never came around, and when it didn't come around, and then they wanted the job on national TV, I said, no, I'm not going to do that. If I had been a contract player, I would have done anything they wanted, but if you're not on a contract, brother, you better keep yourself good, because I'm an independent.
BJ?
Yeah, Honky Tonk, man. You mentioned Hulk Hogan earlier, and he's still doing his thing in TNA, and I was just wondering.
Yeah, brother, can we find somebody I can sue? I'm going to sue the doctor. I'm going to sue the laser surgery. I'm going to sue this guy. I'm going to sue Bubba the Love Sponge. I'm going to sue his wife. I'm going to sue that car dealership down in Tampa because the guy went on TV and went, hey, brother, we got used cars, brother. They're great, brother. We got new cars. We got trucks. Hey, brother, we got vans. I'm serious. I'm serious. I think he actually threatened a lawsuit to a car dealership over a commercial because the man was going out saying, brother. I don't know. I guess, I don't know what you can sue for, but Hogan is I wish I was a lawyer. Hogan is him and Ric Flair are a lawyer's dreams.
Ric Flair, too. With all his
woo! I owe everybody money. Woo! Woo! Line up to sue me. Woo! Good luck. I'm broke. Woo!
Well, Ric Flair, he's back too. Have you thought about reaching out to WWE or TNA or even the Ring of Honor, calling back, maybe doing commentary or being a manager for a younger talent?
Oh, I don't. Obviously, somebody over in WWE, whether it be Vince McMahon or Triple H, somebody's calling the shots, and I don't know. I don't know what he brings to the table. I guess maybe something that I don't know about. Woo! Woo! I need money. Woo! I'm broke. Woo!
Awesome. Mike, you already
another thing that a lot of people talk about with regards to your career is kind of early on in your WWF tenure with Jake the Snake Roberts. You were feuding with him on a segment, The Snake Pit. You hit him with a guitar. He was subsequently injured, and he said that he believes that you hit him with a real guitar instead of a gimmicked one, and you've kind of said that wasn't true. So I was just wondering what actually happened in that situation.
Well, Jake's got his side of the story, and of course, I don't know which side he remembers at this point in his life, but and then Mick Foley does the book, and Mick writes it in the book and says, I injured Jake Roberts. I sent Jake to rehab. Jake did not have neck surgery until like 2 years later. He wrestled for another 2 years before he had his neck surgery. I mean, if you'd injured someone, you'd think they'd go have neck surgery right away. Believe me, the guitar was gimmicked so much. But back to Foley, I got his phone number, and I called him after the book came out, and I heard this. I said, Mick, what's the deal? Where did you get the information that I hit Jake Robertson and hurt him? I said, that sounds bad for other promoters and other wrestlers. They're going to be afraid that I might hurt them, and that's going to hurt my ability now for me to feed my family. He says, well, I said, you're a good journalist. Did you check? Who did you check with? He says, well, I asked Jake. I said, well, that's good. Why wouldn't you have called and asked me? A good journalist would have asked everyone involved the questions. And, well, I guess I should have. I said, well, that's right. Before you start writing stuff like that, you should have checked your sources and then came up with the conclusion that you felt would be the truth. And so I'm not saying that my version is the truth. I'm not saying Jake Roberts' version is the truth. I'm just saying that, hey, you check your sources, but my side of the story is, believe me, I had to hide that guitar because guys, Hillbilly Jim and Hercules Hernandez, God bless him, these guys would come along, they'd pick this thing up and start wanting to play with it and play it. And I had to hide this one because it was so ready to break that I told Jimmy Hart, I said, I got to hide this because somebody's going to, it's going to fall apart. It was a big, heavy guitar. It sounded like Jake got hit really hard. It sounded great. It worked perfect. But no, that's not what. Believe me, that didn't put Jake Roberts in rehab about 5 times.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great point. We had Jake the Snake on too, and believe me, I'm going to have to agree with you on this. I don't think it was you that put him in rehab. Hey, honestly, the policy here. I'm sorry, that's just how it's got to be. Listen, Honky Tonk Man, tell everybody where they can find you. I know you got a nice website. Tell everybody where they can find you when they can.
Well, I live at 4665 East Harwell Street. Hey, brother, find me at the courthouse, brother. Whoa. Find me running from the bill collectors. Woo! No, I have the website. We don't do a whole lot with it. Steve Wilton has done a great job, and he's working with the Ultimate Warrior now, and he's worked with several wrestlers. He runs the website, honkytonkman.net, and then, of course, I'm on the Facebook, and they can find me on Wikipedia, find out everything on Wikipedia, and, of course, I got the Twitter thing going, like I kind of want to say that I was on the cutting edge of out front of all these things, and I was telling Hacksaw the other day. I said, when I did these first shoot interviews back years ago, and you guys remember these RF video view shoots and shoot videos, and I would go out there and say all these things. Guys would tell me, man, I don't want to talk to you. Stay away from me. Don't make Honky Tonk Man mad. He'll say stuff about you. How many people now, how many guys and girls who have left the company, I think they've all done a shoot interview, haven't they?
Every single one of them. It's like they can't wait. It's like as soon as they're out.
I think they should all call me. I think they should all call me up or call you guys up and apologize to me and say thank you, Mr. Honky Tonk Man, because you gave us an opportunity to go make a quick, easy payday for 2 hours of our time to sit there and talk and do a shoot interview. Thank you very much, Mr. Honky Tonk Man. Here, by the way, here's 10%.
Awesome. Listen, we loved having you on, Honky Tonk Man. We'd love to have you back. Thank you so much for your time, man.
Well, you know what? I've enjoyed it, and thank you guys. I know it's been difficult to get the Honky Tonk Man on the Donald Wood Show, but hey, let's shake, rattle, and roll again.
I appreciate it, man. Have a great day, dude.
All right, bye.
All right, guys. Told you that was the Honky Tonk Man interview. We'll go back to the outro, and then you can enjoy the rest of the night. Thanks for listening to Ring Rust Radio.